Welcome to the Morning Walk with Murty Digital Stroll.
Glad to be here.
So, imagine, just for a second, that your alarm clock goes off tomorrow morning.
Right.
But, instead of checking what day of the week it is, your very first thought is to check what phase the moon is in.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a shift.
Right. And imagine that your entire professional life, like your deadlines, your meetings, your output, was synced not to some, corporate Monday through Friday calendar, but to that lunar cycle.
I mean, it feels almost impossible to wrap your head around, honestly, if you've spent your whole life in the modern corporate machine.
Yeah, exactly.
It sounds like something out of a fantasy novel, but it is actually the operational reality of what we are looking at today.
It is. And for you listening, I really want to set the stage for what we're doing here. We are looking at our sources today through a very specific digital prism. We aren't here to just give you a summary of a business model or read off a list of startup features.
Right. Definitely not.
As the strategic auditor for this session, my goal and our goal together is to extract what we're calling the legacy code of Project Antaryami.
And, to crack that code, we really have to look closely at the mind behind it.
Absolutely.
We're analyzing the architect of Antaryami, who also serves as the mentor of the Antaryami VA Academy.
Right.
And through my lens as a wisdom seeker, really focusing on this concept of Gurukul 2.0, it's clear this architect isn't just trying to build a profitable tech company.
No, not at all.
They are trying to orchestrate a massive, truly massive cultural and structural reversal.
Reversal is the perfect word for it. The grand vision in these sources is all about building a bridge between the womb and the web.
Yeah, the womb and the web. I love that phrasing.
It's a mission to reclaim time and, reclaim purpose. So in this Gurukul session, we are going to audit exactly how the architect is taking a digital workforce and migrating it away from those Western industrialized rhythms and anchoring it back into ancient Dharmic rhythms.
Which, requires a fundamental rewiring of the brain.
Oh, yeah, completely.
Before we even get into the mechanics of the technology or the business side of things, just think about your own life for a second. Have you ever been sitting at your desk at 3:00 p.m. on a Tuesday, staring at a screen, feeling that your standard 9-to-5 schedule is just completely at odds with your natural human rhythm?
The classic 3:00 p.m. wall.
Exactly. Or maybe even at odds with the cultural or spiritual rhythms of your own heritage.
I think everybody has hit that wall and thought, we are not biologically built to sit in a chair under fluorescent lights for 8 uninterrupted hours.
No, we really aren't.
It feels like forcing a biological organism into a mechanical box.
That's exactly what it is.
So to understand this legacy code, we have to look at the structural foundation. How do you actually break out of that box without going broke?
Right, because you still need to make a living.
Exactly. And the sources point to this massive migration from a time-bound system to a knowledge-based system. So specifically, the architect made a deliberate choice to build this academy using the KPO model, that's Knowledge Process Outsourcing, rather than the traditional BPO model.
And, the ideology behind that choice is fascinating.
Break that down for us.
Well, the architect looks at the standard BPO system like the classic call center or massive data entry floor, essentially as a digital sweatshop.
Wow. A digital sweatshop.
Yeah. It's a system entirely obsessed with physical presence. You clock in, you clock out. You are literally trading your hours for dollars.
Right.
Your physical body being at a desk looking busy is the primary metric of your value to the company.
It's basically the factory assembly line just brought into the digital age.
Precisely.
But mechanically, how does the KPO model actually fix that? What's the difference?
It fixes it by completely flipping the metric of value from presence to outcome.
Okay, outcome.
Yeah, KPO is about intellectual autonomy.
Yeah.
So in an outcome-based model, you are handed a complex task, say, managing a podcast's backend, doing high-level market research, or optimizing an AI tool.
Stuff that requires actual thought.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You are evaluated purely on the final product. If you could deliver a brilliant outcome in 3 hours of intense focus, you are done.
You're just done. Okay, so you manage knowledge instead of just performing repetitive tasks.
Right.
I mean, I get the business appeal of that, but why does this matter so much on a spiritual level for Project Antaryami?
Well, it's because of the freedom that intellectual autonomy creates.
Oh, I see.
When your work is outcome-based, you aren't chained to that 9-to-5 clock. You don't have to sit there and pretend to look busy for the boss.
But we've all done.
Exactly. So this mechanism actually allows the workers to prioritize a Tithi.
A lunar day, right?
Exactly, a specific lunar day or maybe a really vital religious festival over some arbitrary corporate deadline.
That makes so much sense.
If a worker needs to perform a specific ritual on a Tuesday morning because of the lunar calendar, they can. They just adjust their work hours to deliver the outcome at a different time. Yeah. It fundamentally aligns their professional labor with the Hindu calendar rather than the Gregorian Monday to Friday grind. The KPO model is like the mechanical tool that allows their work to sync seamlessly with their spiritual life.
Now, as the strategic auditor here, this is where my alarms go off.
Uh-oh.
And I have to push back a little. I mean, a spiritually grounded, autonomous workforce sounds like a beautiful, utopian idea.
It does.
But a business needs revenue, right? The modern corporate world is completely cutthroat.
Sure.
Think of the KPO model like hiring a master artisan to build a cabinet rather than, paying someone by the hour to hammer nails.
That's a great way to look at it.
But does the open market actually value this type of spiritually grounded reliability? If I'm a CEO in New York, I don't care about the lunar calendar. I care if my emails are answered. Is there really a market for this?
That is the exact friction point. And it's one the architect solves by deliberately not targeting that New York CEO.
Oh, they just ignore them.
Completely. They aren't trying to change the cutthroat corporate world. They are bypassing it.
Interesting.
The sources detail a highly curated target audience, which the Academy refers to as the 1% of Indian clients.
Ah, okay. So they are basically creating their own closed-loop ecosystem.
Exactly.
So who makes up this 1%?
It's incredibly specific. First, they are targeting Dharmic tech and wellness startups.
Okay.
The sources mention companies like Vantari or Healy distributors in India. These are organizations that are already operating in the wellness and spiritual space.
That makes total sense. They already speak the same language.
They do. Second, and I think this is brilliant, they're targeting traditional Indian Lala family businesses.
Wait, tell me more about that. What makes a Lala business different from a regular corporation?
So these are often massive multi-generational family businesses. Like they might be modernizing their tech stack. They might be doing millions and millions in revenue.
Right. They're huge.
Yeah. But the patriarch making the big decisions still heavily relies on the Hindu calendar.
Oh, wow.
They rely on muhurtas, which are auspicious times, to make major business moves.
Okay. So timing is everything.
Literally. They won't sign a contract during inauspicious hours. Now, a standard Western-trained virtual assistant would find that incredibly frustrating and confusing.
They'd probably think the boss was just being irrational or difficult.
Exactly. But an Antaryami VA anticipates it. They understand the operating system of the business because, well, it's their operating system too.
Wow, that's such a competitive advantage.
And thirdly, they target remote spiritual mentors, like gurus and teachers who need their digital content, their podcasts, and their schedules managed while they themselves retreat into deep meditation.
Oh, so they need someone who just gets it.
Yes.
Yeah.
They need a VA who fundamentally respects the silence and the spiritual practice. You can't have someone blowing up your phone while you're at a retreat.
Okay, I see the genius in that now. You aren't forcing a square peg into a round hole. You're finding the clients who already inherently value Sanatana Dharma.
Exactly.
Meaning they see a VA's spiritual grounding not as like a quirky liability, but as the ultimate guarantee of reliability, ethics, and insight.
Yes, it's a feature, not a bug.
But reclaiming this time through the KPO model, buying back those hours from the digital sweatshop, that is really only step one of this legacy code.
It is.
Just the beginning. The immediate next question, and the one that I think drives the whole project, is what does the architect want these workers to actually do with that reclaimed time?
And this is where we move from just business strategy into profound social engineering.
Okay, lay it on me.
The answer lies entirely in the next generation. This is about generational wealth, but we have to redefine what wealth means here.
We aren't talking about stock portfolios, are we?
Definitely not. We're talking about intellectual and spiritual wealth.
Now, the sources mention that the Academy has an initial intense focus on training 100 ex-Sashivalayam women.
Yes.
Can you explain what that means for the listener who, might not know that term?
Of course. So the Sashivalayam system is a massive village secretariat system in the state of Andhra Pradesh. It employs thousands of people in local government administration. So when the architect targets ex-Sashivalayam women, they are specifically choosing women who know how to work incredibly hard. Right. Women who understand administrative systems and bureaucracy, but who have likely experienced the absolute burnout of a rigid, high-pressure, physical presence-required system.
They're essentially refugees from the ultimate bureaucratic sweatshop.
Precisely. And the Academy is very clear.
Yeah.
These 100 women are not just being trained to be good virtual assistants.
Right. There's a bigger goal.
Mastering AI and digital tools is just the Trojan horse. The real goal is that they are being trained as legacy mothers and Dharmic educators.
Which brings us to the Infant Siddha curriculum.
Yes.
And when I read this in the sources, it absolutely blew my mind. Mechanically, what is happening here?
The Infant Siddha concept is built on this profound idea that learning does not begin in kindergarten when you hand a kid a workbook. It begins in the womb, and it is cultivated meticulously in the earliest years of life. The training at the VA Academy actively teaches these women how to apply Shodasa karma rituals at home.
Let's define that for a second.
Yeah.
What exactly are Shodasa karma rituals?
So in the Hindu tradition, the Shodasa karmas are the 16 primary rites of passage.
Okay, 16 rites.
Yeah, they mark the developmental milestones of a human being, starting from literally before conception, going through pregnancy, childbirth, the first time a child eats solid food.
Wow, so every major step.
Exactly, all the way to their education and marriage. And they aren't just empty religious ceremonies. They are deeply psychological and developmental frameworks designed to anchor a child's intellect and spirit.
So the Academy is essentially teaching these women how to integrate these ancient developmental principles with their modern remote work.
Yes.
And there is a very personal origin story for the architect driving this, isn't there?
There is. The architect actually uses their own life as the literal benchmark for this curriculum. Yeah, the sources note that the architect experienced a state of déjà vu at age 2.
Age 2!
I know, a profound early awakening and hyper-awareness. And they attribute this entirely to the developmental principles their own mother applied during those crucial early years.
See, that reframes everything. If you experience that level of cognitive and spiritual clarity at age 2, then looking at the modern education system must feel bizarre.
Totally alien.
The architect looks at the traditional model like sending a kid away for 14 hours a day to learn the hard way through stress and memorization as just a massive bug in the system.
It's an inefficient, broken software update compared to the original code.
Yeah.
The goal of the Infant Siddha curriculum is to produce effortless, joyful learning. They want to cultivate a generation of children who don't have to strain to absorb knowledge because their neural and spiritual pathways were optimized from the very beginning by these legacy mothers.
I love the ambition. I really, really do.
It's inspiring.
But as the auditor, I have to look at the practicality of human endurance here.
Fair enough.
In the sources, there's talk of these VAs pulling what they call monster work sessions to get their outcome-based KPO work done.
Yes, they do.
How exactly does a human being balance highly intensive AI-driven monster work sessions with being a full-time, highly engaged Dharmic educator at home applying 16 intricate rites of passage?
It sounds impossible.
It genuinely sounds like 2 exhausting full-time jobs.
It does sound like a paradox until you understand how the technology is actually being deployed.
Okay, explain that.
The philosophy here is that mastering virtual tools, specifically AI, within an outcome-based KPO model is the exact mechanism that creates the time needed for these practices.
How so? Walk me through the math of a day.
Okay, so in a traditional BPO, a woman might commute an hour, sit at a desk for 9 hours just to prove she's working, and then commute an hour home.
That's 11 hours gone, minimum.
Exactly. In the Antaryami model, she uses AI to hyper-optimize her workflow. She drops into a deeply focused 4-hour monster session from her home.
Just 4 hours.
She delivers high-quality results to her Dharmic clients, and then, because the outcome is met, she completely logs off.
Ah, so she just bought back like 7 hours of her day.
Exactly. She isn't doing 2 full-time jobs simultaneously. She is using the efficiency of modern technology to compress her economic labor.
That makes a lot more sense.
She's buying back the sheer volume of hours required to be a deeply present parent and spiritual educator. The technology is the tool. The time is the actual wealth.
So the technology is the liberator, not the master.
Beautifully put, yes.
But, you know, for that dynamic to survive, for a worker to feel safe enough to compress their hours without fear of just being fired, the business structure supporting it has to be absolutely ironclad.
It has to be.
Because if the corporate structure is weak, the open market will just exploit these women anyway. They'll end up doing 12-hour monster sessions just to survive.
Which is exactly why the architect fiercely rejects the service marketplace model.
Now, by service marketplace, we mean those massive online freelance platforms, right? Like the digital bazaars where you bid on gigs.
Yes, exactly. The architect looks at those platforms and essentially sees a jungle.
A jungle.
A service marketplace exists purely to facilitate a financial transaction and take a cut.
Right.
It creates a race to the bottom for wages. There is no overarching philosophy, there is absolutely no protection of the worker's time, and there is zero intention of creating any social change.
So how does Project Antaryami scale without turning into a jungle itself?
Through a highly specific use of the franchise model. But they are subverting what a franchise usually means.
Right, because normally when we think of a franchise, we think of fast food.
Exactly.
You buy a franchise to guarantee the fries taste exactly the same in Mumbai as they do in London. It's all about standardizing profit.
Here, the franchise acts as a principal's guardrail.
A principal's guardrail. I like that.
When someone opens a branch of the Antaryami VA Academy, they aren't just licensing a brand name or a software stack. They are legally adopting a Gurukul. The franchise agreement ensures that every single branch operates with Sanatana Dharma, not just as like a motivational poster on the break room wall.
Right.
But as the literal operating system of the office.
So the mechanics of the franchise legally protect the lunar schedule, the outcome-based model, and the spiritual focus.
Exactly.
It basically prevents a middle manager from coming in and saying, hey, let's switch back to 9 to 5 to squeeze out 10% more profit.
Exactly. It keeps the ethics totally intact as the project scales. And, the financial endgame of this franchise model proves the intent here.
Oh.
The sources show this isn't about the architect aiming for a massive Silicon Valley IPO to become a tech billionaire.
So where does the money go?
The goal is to generate passive income, to fund deep, intensive yoga research.
Wow.
Yeah, it's intrinsically tied to fulfilling a sacred promise that the architect made to their guru.
That is so rare in tech.
The entire economic engine, the KPO model, the empowerment of the 100 women, the franchise fees, it all flows upward toward funding spiritual research and honoring a lineage. It's essentially a self-sustaining spiritual economy.
Okay, this brings us to a fascinating pivot in the sources. An operating system based on Sanatana Dharma, funding ancient yoga research, cannot exist purely in the cloud as ones and zeros.
No, it can't.
It needs a physical anchor on Earth. It requires a location that actually carries historical and spiritual weight.
And the geographic locations chosen for this project are highly, highly intentional.
Yeah.
We have the Antaryami headquarters in Kovar and a critical new branch in a place called Arikirevula.
Now, for the listener, these are not bustling tech hubs. We aren't talking about Bangalore or Hyderabad.
Not at all. These are remote, nature-heavy locations. They represent a very deliberate, modern take on the Vanaprastha stage of life.
Break down Vanaprastha for us, because that concept is central to understanding the geography here.
Sure. So in Vedic philosophy, human life is divided into 4 ashramas, or stages. Vanaprastha is the 3rd stage.
Yeah.
It translates roughly to retiring into the forest.
Ah, okay.
It's the stage where one begins to withdraw from the intense hustle of wealth gathering and worldly life, retreating into nature to focus on spiritual pursuit and mentoring the next generation.
So the architect is setting up AI offices in locations that are geographically suited for spiritual aspirants entering that stage of life.
Yes.
It's totally reversing the standard model where tech talent is just drained from the villages into the concrete jungle.
Exactly.
But the choice of Arikirevula specifically, the sources revealed this wasn't just a logical real estate play based on cheap land. It was deeply intuitive. Arikirevula was once an Agrahara,
which is a term that carries immense historical weight.
Right.
An Agrahara was traditionally a dense settlement of Brahmins, usually granted by a king, dedicated entirely to the preservation of knowledge, the teaching of the Vedas, and strict spiritual discipline.
A hub of ancient intellectual capital. But over the centuries, demographic shift, urbanization happens, and many of these places just empty out.
Right, most of the people left. But the architect operates on the understanding that the soil itself still holds that history and that resonance.
Wow.
By establishing an AI office in Arikirevula, the architect is effectively reactivating the Agrahara for the digital age.
Reactivating it.
Yes. They are bringing the rigorous pursuit of knowledge back to a geographic coordinate that was historically dedicated to it.
And it's not just the land itself. There is a physical structure there that plays a massive role. The sources highlight an 800-year-old Siva temple located right near the Arikirevula office.
Yes.
And the architect refers to this temple almost like a silent co-founder of the project.
That phrase is beautiful. A silent co-founder.
It really is. But mechanically, what does an 800-year-old temple provide to an AI tech startup?
Well, it provides the deep, undisturbed silence required for Nath Yoga.
And Nath Yoga being...
It's an ancient, highly esoteric yogic tradition that focuses heavily on awakening inner energy and tuning into the subtle internal sounds of the body.
Oh, wow.
You cannot practice Nath Yoga effectively next to a highway in a major metropolis.
No, I imagine not.
It requires profound external silence to hear those internal frequencies. The 800-year-old temple provides that energetic and acoustic environment, acting as the ultimate spiritual anchor for everything the VAs are doing on their laptops.
That is just, honestly, it's a huge insight for me. We talked about aha moments, and this is it.
It really reframes everything.
Think about the modern tech worker. Imagine if your office building was chosen not for its highway access, not because it's close to a Starbucks or a networking hub, but specifically for its proximity to an 800-year-old center of learning and profound silence.
It's incredible.
It completely changes the psychological context of what you were doing. You aren't just typing code, you were continuing a lineage.
It elevates the mundane to the sacred.
Exactly. And the brilliance of Project Antaryami is how they are broadcasting this reality. They are using a podcast series titled The Agrahara 2.0.
It's a perfect synthesis.
It really is. You have this ancient 800-year-old lineage, and you are using modern, globally accessible digital media to invite people into it.
It bridges the gap. It signals to the exact right kind of 1% client and the exact right kind of VA student that this is not your standard firm. You are stepping into a modernized ashram.
But as any good auditor will tell you, intuition and podcasts alone aren't enough to ensure a legacy code survives the test of time.
Sure.
To really cement this kind of structural shift, intuition has to be backed by institutional history and strategic partnerships.
Right. You need backup.
You need the establishment to validate the roots of what you were building, otherwise you're just an eccentric startup in the woods.
Which brings us to the final and perhaps most crucial strategic move detailed in our sources, the engagement with the Pariswaramulu Telugu University, or PSTU.
How does a VA academy interface with a major academic university? Like, what's the play there?
It starts with an outreach to their School of History, Culture, and Archaeology.
Okay.
Specifically, the architect is targeting Dr. M. Srinivasa Rao, the Dean of the School of History.
And what do they want from the dean?
Well, the goal isn't to ask for funding. The goal is to ask for academic documentation.
Oh.
They want the university to formally document the history and the pedigree of that 800-year-old Siva temple in Arikirevula.
Ah, I see the mechanism here. By getting an academic institution to officially verify the site's significance, the architect can turn to those 100 ex-Sashavalayam women and say, look, you aren't just employees in a quirky startup.
Exactly.
The ground you are working on, the air you are breathing, this is a documented 1,000-year-old lineage of knowledge, and you are the next chapter.
It provides undeniable historical authority to the architect's intuition. It is an incredible retention tool because it ties the worker's identity not to a corporate brand, but to their own civilizational history.
That is so smart. But they aren't stopping at the Dean of History, are they?
No, they are aiming much higher.
The ultimate strategic alliance outlined in the sources is taking the entire Project Antaryami model directly to the Vice Chancellor of the university, Professor D. Meenoratnam Naidu.
If we look at the big picture, aligning with the Vice Chancellor is an absolute masterstroke.
Why is that?
You have to look at Professor Meenoratnam Naidu's own background. His academic research focuses heavily on Telugu ritual traditions, oral narratives, and folklore.
So right away, the architects focus on Sanatana Dharma, the Hindu calendar, and those 16 Shodasa karma rituals is going to resonate on a deeply personal and intellectual level with the VC.
Exactly. Plus, the VC is deeply connected globally.
Right.
The sources mention his ties to the Siliconandra network, which is all about how Telugu language and culture can migrate digitally and survive across the global diaspora.
Wow, so their goals are already perfectly aligned.
But the real linchpin here is that the Vice Chancellor is currently leading what is called the Phoenix Mission.
The Phoenix Mission. Tell me about that.
Yes. It is his mandate to revive the university's Rajamundry campus, to basically bring it back from the ashes and make it a thriving center of culture and education again.
Okay, let's unpack why this alignment is so perfect. On one side, you have the vice chancellor representing the academic establishment, trying to revive a campus and figure out how to preserve ancient Telugu culture in a rapidly digitizing world.
Right.
On the other side, you have the architect sitting in Arikirevula, an ancient Agrahara, already actively training 100 women in AI while teaching them ancient developmental rituals, all synchronized to the Hindu calendar, and generating real revenue.
It's the ultimate symbiotic relationship.
It really is.
The academic world often have the historical knowledge, but lacks the agile private sector execution to make it economically viable.
Right. They move too slow.
The Antaryami project provides the university with a ready-made, highly successful partner that is already executing the digital migration of Telugu culture. They aren't just writing papers about preserving culture. They are actively building a self-sustaining digital economy around it.
They are turning the theory into living practice. It's absolutely brilliant.
It really is.
So as we bring this digital stroll to a close, let's just synthesize the legacy code we've extracted today.
Good idea.
We are looking at an architect who is fundamentally rejecting the assembly line logic of the digital sweatshop. By utilizing the KPO model, they are prioritizing intellectual autonomy, which mechanically frees up the time needed for maternal empowerment and generational wealth through the Infant Siddha curriculum.
Exactly.
And they are protecting these ancient Dharmic rhythms using the franchise model as a guardrail, anchoring it all geographically in an ancient Agrahara, and validating it through strategic university alliances.
It is a totally comprehensive ecosystem.
It is.
And for you listening, I think the ultimate wisdom seeker takeaway is how this reshapes our definition of progress.
Say more about that.
Well, true digital migration isn't just about uploading your company's data to the cloud faster than the competition.
Right.
It's about preserving your spiritual and cultural identity while utilizing those modern tools. Project Antaryami proves that technology should adapt to your culture, not the other way around.
That is a profound shift in perspective.
Yeah.
And I want to leave you with a final new thought to ponder as you log off and go about the rest of your day.
Okay.
We've talked a lot about using AI and digital tools to protect ancient rhythms, but think about the nature of AI itself.
Well, interesting.
Artificial intelligence learns from the data it is fed. Right now, global AI is largely trained on standard westernized 9-to-5 internet data.
Very true.
But if an entire workforce of Dharmic educators at the Antaryami Academy starts feeding their lunar rhythms, their Shodasa karma principles, and their ancient linguistic nuances into these global AI models over the next decade, are they simply using modern tools, or are they quietly rewriting the DNA of artificial intelligence itself to be a little less Silicon Valley and a little more Sanatana Dharma?
That's a massive thought.
Something to think about.
Until next time.